Chat Cave with Mike and Max.
Welcome to the Chat Cave with Max and Mike.
There you go. Thank you, Kevin.
We're back. We made it back. Mike, how you doing?
I'm fine. I'm a little bummed out given the topic that we're gonna have today, but otherwise I'm good. You?
I'm doing.
This
is getting off to a great start. We haven't had too many of these. No, I'm doing good. It's just been a regular day, and other than the sad topic that we have to discuss,
yeah,
I am very well, sir.
And it's Monday too, so that's like extra added on top of everything. So for anyone who's not in the know, we are recording on Monday right now after a long work day. So for both of us, I'm sure. So shall we just get into what is bringing us together here for another Chat Cave?
Yeah, man, it's some sad news in the Batman world. We've lost some of the heavy hitters.
Yeah, double header for the past like 2 weeks now.
It's unfortunately we didn't get to get together last week to talk about one of these guys, but it's just
it slipped our mind last week. I think we were so focused talking about Batman and drugs that but it was foreshadowing because we were talking about a story that was written by this first person that
so the sad news is we lost Denny O'Neil. That was 2 weeks ago.
June 11th, I believe. Was when he passed.
Right around there. It's one of the great writers for not just Batman, but he did a lot of Green Lantern and Green Arrow with
Neil Adams.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just one of the classic Batman writers is just everybody's got to go sometime, but it's sad. It's sad when it happens.
Yeah. Well, no, I was kind of just refreshing my memory as to what he'd actually been involved with, but he wrote for like basically everybody almost, like Marvel. He got it kind of his one of his big starts with Marvel. Worked for the Charlton line of characters before they were bought out for DC. So he received regular work there, and then when he got to DC,
that's like the Shadow and stuff, right?
No, that's like the Question and Captain Atom before they became part of the DC universe. Those
are the characters that Alan Moore wanted to use for Watchmen, right?
Yes, that's what he wanted to use them for. Like Question and Rorschach or Blue Beetle's like Night Owl. Yeah. But he couldn't. Yeah, so but then in the late 60s he moved over to DC, and that's where he probably did a lot of his like definitive work, like you mentioned before, the Green Lantern and Green Arrow stories. Like he stripped Green Arrow down to like an urban hero essentially. And we were talking last week about the Speedy storyline, about Speedy being a heroin addict, and that he was the one who actually wrote that story. He's the one who kind of got that out there and was one of the first writers, I think, to kind of tackle drug addiction, in a serious light. Whether it was the most in the know perspective about the drug usage, who's to say? But I mean, it was the first time it was taken seriously, And
so how come Denny O'Neil ends up getting everybody strung out on drugs like that? was that something that they had? It's like, well, you've got a lot of experience here. You can really put the human element towards this. Like,
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, perhaps he did have his own kind of his own experience. It was the 60s after all, I'm pretty sure like everybody was on something to some extent at that point. So he could probably pull from personal experience. Who's to say? But he made DC heroes, I guess, a little bit more grounded with regards to that. Like they were actually tackling more common issues, more pertinent issues for the actual world, as opposed to always like grand supervillains. Like I know Green Lantern and Green Arrow, a lot of their stuff was centered or kind of circling around like civil unrest that was going on at the time, which is kind of a good parallel to today, very much so. But and then he eventually like got over to Batman, and that's where a lot of like mainstays in the Bat legacy first took root, like a certain head of the League of Assassins, a demon's head, if you will.
The Al Ghul Party of Two.
Al Ghul, yep.
No, that's one of the great villains. I mean, if you can get a villain to stick, that's pretty awesome. And then obviously, Ra's al Ghul is one of the better Batman villains that have come along. So I mean, kudos on that. You know, it's just it sucks that he's dead. But you know, there's just a lot of Batman like history that and then like you're saying, like he was working with, you know, the Question, a lot of like down to earth characters. He did everything he could to make Green Arrow more, you know, down to earth, more like an actual person that might be a superhero. And that's what DC like it really needs, because like all of its characters are so OP, you know, that it's hard to tell relatable stories. So yeah, I feel like he was a little bit of a shot in the arm that they needed to kind of like, you know, he was the Narcan or whatever to bring him back down, you know.
Well, I mean, it's hit or miss sometimes, because he did that with a lot of DC characters. Like one of his more infamous ones, I guess, was he depowered Wonder Woman and kind of exiled her from Amazon mythology and community, and like basically made her just an adventuress, but like a human adventuress with like a blind mentor named I Ching. So a lot that didn't go over very well with the readership.
That's why he got put in charge of the drug stuff.
Yeah, it's like he had to find kind of his niche, perhaps, with certain characters, and
you know, you can't win them all, you know, but you miss 100% shots you don't take. So that's you just got to look at it. But no, he's definitely contributed a lot to, you know, comic books in general.
And I mean, not just comic books, but also any of the other media that goes with kind of comic books. Like, I think he did have essentially some say or sway on episodes of Batman the Animated Series.
I was gonna ask. I was like, I think he was a writer on that for sure. So
especially the race stuff, especially. I think he was very hands-on with the introduction of Ra's al Ghul. He was very much involved because that was his baby, pretty much. So, but also I saw this here, like he had a writing credit for G.I. Joe back in 1985, I believe, and the Superboy TV series from 1989. Like he had a couple of like credits to some episodes there. But yeah, it's a shame. But I mean, he was 81, so
right. Yeah, it's getting to be about that time.
Yeah,
but no, I mean, he had a good run, and you know, all we can do is appreciate you know, everything that he's contributed to, you know, our beloved heroes.
Well, yeah, and beloved heroes, you know, all over DC, Marvel. Like he wrote for Spider-Man, wrote for Power Man and Iron Fist and Iron Man, and a whole bunch of characters, like a slew of characters across so much of the landscape that it's always, I don't know, kind of, I'm always kind of awestruck when I find out just how much. Like I only know him from Batman primarily, but then it's like, oh yeah, he did Green Lantern and Green Arrow, and then it's like, oh, but then there's also this, and you look a little bit more into his background and just how much of an influence and how much of a sway he held over writing these characters for decades. So
yeah, you know, again, yeah, I don't think, you know, death is just the next step. It's he will be missed, obviously, but you know, at least like we have all these things that he's contributed, you know, and he's helped, bring the genre forward and bring all these guys, forward, and I'm gonna applaud him. A little pats on the back for you, up in the sky there. What I found interesting was I didn't realize his name was actually Dennis. And so because
everyone calls him Denny. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, is that like a French thing? Are they like gay Paris? Denny.
Perhaps, yeah. I think it was just, he may have just preferred call me Denny. It's like, yeah. He was a big fan of the restaurant. Why not?
Yeah, yep. That makes a lot more sense.
I don't know, but also, I guess he did a lot of like work for charities too. Like he sat on the board of directors for the Hero Initiative, for its disbursement committee specifically. He did teaching, like he was a teacher over at the Manhattan School of Visual Arts. He did like writing for comics courses and things like that. So he was very much not just about doing the work, but passing on the work, so to speak.
Yeah, and the Hero Project is really, like, that charity is really cool. Just trying to take care of artists and stuff like that. It's rough. It's rough out there. So anything to help the community is really cool.
Yeah.
And he's just, because I mean, like, once he's made it. Like, he doesn't have to do any of these things, but that's super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that he gives back. So thank you so much, Dennis, Mr. O'Neill. Absolutely.
Doctor. I didn't spend 8 years in comic book college to be called Mr.
There you go. So, like I was saying before too, this is a kind of a double whammy because we just, I believe, just today, lost another contributor to the mythology of Batman. And his contributions are a little bit more infamous, but I thought it was still worth exploring.
Yes. It's a sad day. We've lost Joel Schumacher.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you love or hate his Batman movies, they were definitely his thing. You can't.
He had a vision.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Batman Forever was probably my favorite Batman movie, like, as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Carrey in that movie just kind of, that was in his Ace Ventura days, so like he took it away, and then I was along for the ride.
Despite the fact that there's a 40-year-old Robin.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave that alone. Leave that alone. We're not gonna talk like the bat nipples, bat cod piece. Like we're just God, Joel Schumacher. But Batman Forever was my favorite Batman movie for the longest time, like until I learned what good movies are. But I mean, like I can't say that he didn't bring me like an endless amount of like joy in my childhood. So I gotta give him credit for that. And whether or not the movie holds up is beside the point. Like you think about the feeling you had when you first watched it, or Batman Forever. I'm not even gonna talk about Batman and Robin because that was terrible. But and you can see that they were trying to have fun, and I can appreciate that.
Right.
Again, it didn't on the rewatch it's not so great. There's a lot of problems, but I can't take away how I felt the first time I watched it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, like here's the thing, like I'll watch Batman and Robin, but I go into with a certain kind of perspective of being like, I'm going to laugh my ass off at this thing because of its ridiculousness, because of it's just so out there with regards to an interpretation of Batman, and especially from where it was coming from, like the Tim Burton source material. I mean, not even source material, but like trying to carry on the franchise that Burton's film started.
Right.
But like, you know what? So was the '66 Batman. That was a wild kind of out there pop aesthetic. And I'm like,
I feel like that's what he was doing. It was like, if the '66 Batman was now, this is what it would be.
Absolutely. Right down to like you have named celebrity villains. You've got Batman and Robin just meandering around in broad daylight. It appears
Robin's 40, just like always.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he was 50.
Oh no, they de-aged him for that.
Okay. I thought we were doing the thing where you keep adding like 10 years to him every time we mention him. But yeah,
switch it up on you.
But it's that idea of like he had a certain like visual flair to a lot, not just the Batman films, but a lot of his movies. And I got to admire, like, he does have an eye for design. I'll give him this. He might not be the most celebrated or competent director, but his sense of like how to kind of design or how to kind of shape a film with a certain undertone, an LGBTQ themed undertone, because he was
totally
an out gay man. Like
neon cod pieces for everyone.
Yeah, but not just that, but like if you go back and watch stuff like Flatliners or The Lost Boys, like absolutely, those are like kind of like, I don't know, very much queer coded films, and I mean it works. It's a style, absolutely, and I feel like that was something that I can at least kind of I can commend him for, is like he had a certain aesthetic that he held to through a majority of his movies. I think the only movie that felt not him was the Phantom of the Opera adaptation, which is weird because that's a very, that's a Broadway adaptation, and it's really arch.
So, yeah, you feel like he should knock it out of the park, right?
Yeah, but it feels
stereotypically speaking.
Yeah, it feels really stifled though. It doesn't feel like one of his movies. Whereas, like you go
that's
to like
the one he holds back for.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean,
man, see that he's keeping you on your toes. Like you're like, oh, Joel Schumacher, this is gonna be gay as hell. Like not a bad thing, but you're like, it's gonna be a flamboyant, proud expression of his sexuality, and it was subdued. It was,
yeah. But I mean, he had a couple of pretty solid films. I mean, I know we're kind of knocking him for his lamer Batman movies a little bit, but he had some solid ones. Like A Time to Kill was his.
Yeah, I mean that's a solid flick. I mean, good source material on that.
Yeah, well, a lot of his Grissom stuff is fairly solid. The Client, Time to Kill, definitely. So
The Client was annoying. That was a bad movie. Decent book, bad movie.
Mm-hmm. But like, I mean, we got to thank him for bringing us Samuel L. Jackson with "Yes, They Deserve to Die, and I hope they burn in hell."
Oh, he made Phone Booth. Oh goodness.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying they were all good.
No, I'm just looking at his.
He did Falling Down.
Okay.
Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
I personally like 8mm, so.
That was a weird one. That's a weird Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but I kind of dug it. It was like his turn at trying to be Hitchcockian or Polanski-ish a little bit in terms of his direction, and I'm like, okay, at least he's trying something.
Oh my God, he made Bad Company with freaking Anthony Hopkins and The Rock, or Chris Rock, not The Rock, Chris Rock.
Yeah, Chris Rock. Yeah, he did.
That movie was terrible. Phone Booth, I liked.
Mm-hmm.
He made Tigerland. This guy was all over the place.
Yep. I mean, he got after Batman and Robin. I think he went back to like smaller films, and tried to just kind of stay in that particular niche. But he wasn't just like director, like also did a lot of like screenwriting. Like he wrote the original treatment for The Wiz, I believe, back in 1978. So.
Oh my goodness, that's the same. St. Elmo's Fire, Lost Boys, like, oh my God, this guy is all over the place. Like, mad respect for Joel Schumacher. I mean, he made some freaking shitty movies, but he also made some really good movies. I mean, or at least movies that you can watch and there's a certain just spot in your heart for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and there's a lot of just iconic movies that he's made or worked on. It's that's utterly ridiculous.
I mean, he was a worker. Like, that's the thing. He was always finding work, so there must have been something there that people found appeal in. So
I mean, yeah. You go to the movies. I mean, he like, because even Batman and Robin was that a flop per se? Like,
I can't recall if it was I think it did okay, not like great, which is why they decided to reboot, because it didn't do stellar numbers.
Oh, I mean, like, they didn't make another Batman movie until Nolan's Batman.
Yeah.
So,
but let me take a look here really quick.
Put the nail in the coffin as far as that was concerned.
It earned approximately 43 million on its opening weekend, making it the third highest opening weekend of 1997. But it declined by 63% in the second week. So it went on to gross like 170 or 107 million in North America.
How much did it cost to make?
It was about, let me see here.
It had to be like $30 million at least.
I mean, I'd say even a little bit more than that, because you got Schwarzenegger on that ticket.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there was a lot of big name actors on that one.
Yeah, so, well, Clooney, I don't think had a high price ticket yet, because he was still, known as the guy from.
Oh yeah, but dude, they got Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's a huge.
I mean, he was only 87 when they made that movie. Like, he was still in his prime.
The worldwide total was 238.2 million. Warner Brothers acknowledged Batman and Robin's shortcomings in the domestic market, but pointed out success overseas. Yeah, internationally, it did gangbusters.
Oh, yeah, because they don't know what good movies are.
Jeez. I think, or like flashy colors and stuff can just be translated across the language barriers a lot easier than.
Yeah, and it's just like, you can see that they spent like $50 million or whatever, like, at the time. Like, if they were making that movie now, it would have been like $200 million for them to make it. And then like, they would have just barely got, like, with these figures, they would have just barely got their money back with but I mean, like, with a movie, you pay up front, so after you get your money back, like, that's not that bad.
Yeah, I know we're still like laying a lot of the blame at Joel Schumacher's feet for Batman and Robin, especially. Keep in mind, Akiva Goldsman wrote both that and Forever, I believe, with some help on Forever, but I think Batman and Robin was solely his.
Yeah,
and that dude's still getting work. So
that guy gets so much work; it's ridiculous. I don't even understand. Ugh.
I think he's been riding the Beautiful Mind ticket for years now. Like, people always giving him a pass because of A Beautiful Mind. But in the interim, like, he did I Am Legend.
Ugh.
He's responsible for DC's Titans right now. So yeah. Do you want to hear?
I shouldn't poo-poo a Titans. I've only watched like one episode or like 1.5 episodes.
It's perfectly fine, dude. You can poo-poo Titans. You won't hear any complaining from me.
I mean, how old is Robin in that one? Like 83?
Yeah, 83 at that point. He's got his walker out, and he's still saying "fuck Batman." So.
Oh man, yeah, no, Titans. I heard it got a little better towards the middle or towards the end, but not like the first 2 episodes are nigh unwatchable.
Yeah,
and it's rough, but
man,
that guy sucks.
Yeah. So let's not put all of the blame on Schumacher for that one. Like,
no, okay, so it's like 70-30, because I mean, like, I feel like at any time you could have been like, get rid of this script, let's get a new script in here.
Well, we'll have to split it 3 ways then, because it's partly Schumacher, partly Akiva, partly the studio, because the studio wanted toys galore. So
but like, the studio is always about getting that money, so it's like you can't really blame them for doing like what they always do, but freaking Akiva Goldsman wrote A Beautiful Mind, so obviously he's got some gold in there. Like, there's some, you just got to dig for it, and he's not willing to do that. He's just scraping the surface.
Do you want to hear a little bit about some of the canceled sequel to Batman and Robin?
Yes.
Because he was the thing. Warner Brothers, when Batman and Robin was filming, they were impressed with the dailies. So they immediately got Schumacher to sign on again for a 5th film. Mm-hmm. Akiva Goldsman turned down the offer to write for the 5th one. And then they'd hired Mark Prosevich to write the script for the 5th movie. It was called Batman Unchained, I believe. he ended up like writing screenplays for the Poseidon reboot and I Am Legend, actually.
Oh.
But in this one, they were saying like it was going to continue in the same vein as Batman and Robin with like multiple villains and even more silliness. They had the plan to have like Scarecrow be the main villain. Funny how that worked out, because he ended up being the main villain in the next Batman movie.
Yep.
Through using his fear toxin, he would resurrect the Joker as a hallucination in Batman's mind. Harley Quinn was supposed to appear as a supporting character, but she would be the Joker's daughter. Clooney, O'Donnell, Alicia Silverstone, and Coolio were all supposed to return. And Coolio was in Batman and Robin, and he was going to be revealed to be the Scarecrow.
Okay. I kind of dig that, though.
That would have worked, I think.
That would have been a really different Scarecrow. I'm interested in the costume design for that. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah. And it was also alluded to that if the script had gone through, Jack Nicholson would have returned for a Joker cameo as a hallucination.
Oh, that would have been good. If they could have had... If they would have done the like the Arkham City thing, where like the Joker is just kind of like always there.
Yeah, figment of his imagination.
Yeah, that I think would have been cool. Just Jack Nicholson just chewing all the scenery, and then you just kind of do like your crazy movie edit, and like nothing's really broken, and he's just kind of like you just see Batman like working it out. That could have been good. There's a lot of good things in there. I doubt the movie would have actually turned out well.
Nah,
but.
I remember hearing ramblings of who they wanted at, at first it was Coolio, but then I think I heard ramblings of like Howard Stern could be the Scarecrow or something. I'm like,
I can see that too.
Okay, I guess
that's
so.
Weird casting, but I like it.
But
that's really interesting. I mean, I'm not sad that it didn't get made.
apparently the double whammy of the poor box office and Clooney's like, I'm never putting on a Batman costume again. That did it. There was like,
yeah, that had to be hell. Those bat outfits from those movies had to be just sheer torture to put on. And then like you can't turn your head, like
yeah, you're just all one big body movement essentially.
No, that's crazy. It's on the one hand, like it would have been cool to see just like the train wreck that turned out to be. But on the other hand, I'm not too sad that it didn't get made, just because I don't know if I can handle another Batman and Robin fiasco. Just it's that's a lot to ask. Yeah.
Outside of that, like, I don't think there's been much kind of reusage of like, of course, Denny O'Neil's characters, they get put through many different reinterpretations and so forth. Like he revitalized characters like the Joker and Two-Face in the 70s. I don't know if anyone's ever come back to kind of the Schumacher approach for, say, Poison Ivy or.
No, I mean, again, like it was very his own thing, and obviously it wasn't received that well. So it doesn't surprise me that no one's gone back to it. But like also, like it's cemented in time. Like, Batman and Robin is so terrible. But like, like you were saying, it made its way all the way back around. It looped around to like where it's fun to watch.
It is
even
fun
though it's a terrible movie, like just because like you get to laugh at the whole thing the whole time.
I'll take Batman and Robin over a slew of other mid-90s superhero movies. Like I'll take Batman and Robin over like The Phantom, The Shadow.
Oh, dude, with Billy Zane? Come on.
Yeah.
The Shadow, Alec Baldwin. Come on, dude. No, it's not Alec.
It was Alec.
Was it Alec? No, it was Stephen Baldwin.
No, Alec Baldwin. Because the whole thing is like they were thinking like, well, Alec Baldwin would make a great Batman, but at that point, Keaton kind of cemented his, stamp on the role, and so Alex said, well, I'm never gonna get to be Batman now, so I might as well be this. No, man. Oh, The Shadow is. I'd take Batman. At least Batman and Robin has weird stuff that's exciting. The Shadow is really kind of humdrum to me. Like, I don't know.
You know what though? Like, The Shadow is one of those ones that I fucking love. I don't know why. Okay. I can watch The Shadow right now.
How about this?
It's pretty bad.
How about Steel? Would you take Batman and Robin over Steel?
Batman and Robin. Batman.
Okay, there we go.
I'm sorry, Shaq. I'm so sorry. Like, I love Shaq as a person. He's a great personality. He's a good dude, and I mean, like, he owns a fried chicken chain called Shaq's Chicken Shack.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
I love that guy. But Steel was terrible. Steel is just like unwatchably terrible. It's not even like one of those, like Kazam is like the cringy, gloriously bad movie that you can watch of Shaq's. But Steel is just like not fun to watch at all.
No. So in that case, it's like, yeah, I take Batman and Robin over that because
yes,
fun, silly, absurd shit's happening at least in Batman and Robin. You can at least roll your eyes at or be like, what were they thinking? But yep. So
I mean, the Shadow had freaking Tim Curry in it. Come on, dude.
Yeah, sure. Not enough Tim Curry though. Not enough Tim Curry for me. It had Ian McKellen trying to do an American accent, so I will give it that, because that's kind of hilarious. Ian McKellen trying to do an American accent. One of the greatest British actors ever.
You'd figure he'd be, just a little bit better at it. But
nope.
Yeah, usually the Brits can nail us just fine. Like it's fun to watch Americans try to do British accents, but usually the Brits just hit it. There's no, like, he didn't speak like that.
Yeah, well, we're living in like a sea of riches here, where you can have like Hugh Jackman does like American accent flawlessly. Benedict Cumberbatch, when I first heard he was going to do Doctor Strange like as just a regular American accent, I'm like, no, but it grew on me. It's fine. For some reason, Ian McKellen can't do it.
Freaking Benedict Cumberbatch, I can't remember what movie it was.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. It's either Black
I think he had
Mass.
to do like a Boston accent or a Maxwell accent.
He's Johnny Depp's brother.
It was terrible.
Oh yeah, it's over. Here's the thing: just give him a regular kind of run-of-the-mill American accent. Don't give him something that it has to be like a specific section of the country. Like, yeah, don't make him a Southie or something like that.
No, guy. Back to the sad news.
These sad news. Yeah, we're having a laugh, somber. But it is actually somber. Sad. It's always sad when you lose folks who seem to exude a lot of creativity. Even if that creativity isn't necessarily your cup of tea, it's still,
it's good to have different things.
Yes, it's still imagination kind of unbound, and there won't be another Joel Schumacher, I don't think.
No,
and there won't be another Denny O'Neil. So
no, there's definitely Denny O'Neil. We lost one there. That's it's gonna be tough to replace. Joel Schumacher. I mean, a lot of his movies I'm not a huge fan of, but again, like you're saying, it's good to have that that just different breath in there. The different sort of styling, and you can decide, like, that helps you decide what you like and what you don't like.
Absolutely.
And that helps you draw that line. And again, like. He made a bad Batman movie in Batman Forever, but I loved it. And then he made a worse Batman movie, but I still watch it just for the giggles,
Yep.
And so it's not like, you can't say that he really even made a bad Batman movie, because they're both watchable for something. And yeah, so Joel Schumacher, sorry, bud, like, that sucks. But I mean, he had a good run too. I don't think he was. Yeah, he was very young.
they were both. Denny O'Neil was 81. Joel Schumacher was 80, I believe. So, yeah.
So
they had a lengthy career.
I hope like all the personal lives were good, and everything, because for what they contributed to Batman, at least, we can only thank them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So thank you so much to both of them for their contributions to the Bat mythology. And hopefully it won't be, hopefully it will be a while until we have to do another remembrance episode.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been doing a lot of those lately.
Right. Just like 3 or 4 back to back.
Jesus. So. Man.
But I mean, like, it is interesting though that we did like Batman on Drugs, and again, Denny O'Neil has one of the best, one of the most iconic Batman on Drugs stories, and then obviously the sad news happened, but we're giving that dude props when he had time to hear it, and I know he was a Chat Cave listener, so that's
that for a fact, huh?
I feel it in my soul. I don't have the direct like evidence. I can't punch in all the little the queries and find out who was listening when. But I know in my heart that Denny O'Neil was a Chat Cave listener, and he appreciated how we spoke about his work, and appreciated his work while he was here to feel that,
and shared some like-minded points with us. Like, yeah, Alfred is the worst. So.
And Joel Schumacher can get down with that too, because like he's got some of the worst Alfred stuff under his watch too.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh man, if you thought people were getting into the cave and willy-nilly, brace yourself for Forever and Batman and Robin combined.
Oh my goodness,
people are just many. There's just like a rotating like thing at the doorway to the cave. There, take your ticket.
Batman like freaking rings Alfred on the intercom like, Alfred, he's in the cave. Another one, sir. Dreadfully sorry, sir.
I'll get the wood chipper out, sir. This horrible scenario we made in our
You're not allowed to make me comedy spray my beer.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I felt bad when I started saying it and you were taking a sip. I'm like, whoops. Yeah.
That was on me too. I should have known that.
You should have known I was gonna go somewhere dark.
But yeah, that's it sucks. It sucks. It always sucks losing somebody. But if you believe in any sort of afterlife or anything like that, if they can get in on Batman credentials alone, I believe they've earned their spots.
Yep.
And that's all. I got nothing bad to say. Like, I have no like ill will towards either of these guys. I hope their families are coping well, and our condolences to them.
Yep.
And to their family and friends. And yeah.
Thanks for the good reads and the good movies, or good movie going experiences at least.
Yes. that's a better way to put it.
That's to correct myself there a little. But
all right.
Yeah.
I'm Max. You can catch me and a bunch of my friends over at the Three Geeks podcast, including the one, the only Mike McG. He likes to grace us with his presence every now and again. Yes. You can find all of our casts at 3geeks.ninja. We're also on Facebook and all that good stuff. 3 Geeks Network or 3 Geeks Podcast. You can iTunes, Stitcher, any of your podcasting places. We're on Anchor, so you can find us. Please come and find us. Give us a listen. Throw out some comments. We love to interact with listeners. So hit us up, and we'll definitely give you a shout out.
Yep, and you can follow me at Twitter at Mike McGTV. You'll probably, if you're listening to this now, it's probably mainly on YouTube / Mike McGTV. Also, I've got the latest season of our One and Done podcast is out on Anchor.fm. Soon to be on like Spotify, Apple Podcasting, like that. You can find us anchor.fm / Katie-Michael for that newest episode of One and Done. And
you guys just did Firefly, didn't you? I'm excited to listen to this episode.
Yes, we started on it. It's like part 1 of like a 4-part series of episodes.
Ooh, okay.
So, yeah.
All right, I'm down.
So yeah.
Is this your first like 4-parter?
No. The Kindred one was a 4-parter. I think we've been sticking to 4 parts mainly, just because the shows have that shorter run that we can. But yeah. So check out all that stuff, and once again, thanks for listening to the Chat Cave here on McGTV.
And you can catch us same chat time, same chat channel, Mike McGTV.